Hi guys, it's John here again. We're just going to do a quick comparison here between the Galaxy S3 and the Desire S. So I've devised a few different tests to go through, and we'll see who will come out triumphant. Now obviously my Desire S is a year old now, so well, it's over a year old, nearly 18 months. So I'm not expecting it to win particularly, but it'd be just good to have a nice comparison, just so you can see how upgraded your experience will be if you decide to get one of these things. So let's start with the first test. Okay, so the boot up. How long will it take from a cold boot to get into the into your phone and start using it properly? Now I've disabled fast boot on here, so it's a fair test. I'm using a Gingerbread ROM. It's the fastest ROM I've used on my Desire S, so it should be a good comparison to the Galaxy S3's stock ROM. So fast boot is off, Wi-Fi and mobile data is off on both, just to help have a good test. So enough waffling, let's turn them on and see what happens. So you see the S3 screen comes on pretty much straight away. Okay, so the Desire S is now finally booting up, but looks like the S3 is on, so we'll wait for the widgets to finish loading. Okay, so that's it. S3 is done and dusted. We can now do things, and it's all fully working and loaded up, so that's good. So I shall skip or fast forward even to when the Desire S has finished loading up, because I think we may be here a while. Okay, there we go, Desire S is finally finished and is now usable. So you can obviously tell the 1 GHz single core chip in the Desire S is just, it's just too slow in comparison to our friend over here, quad core, running at 1.4 GHz. So unsurprisingly, the Galaxy S3 wins the first round. So let's just mark this up. And move on to the next test. Okay, so I'm going to load up the browser on both phones. Now you notice the display's gone slightly dimmer on the S3. This automatically adjusts depending on what's on the background of your web page, so as not to blind you. But anyway, enough of that. Let's go to the... First of all, let's make sure we're requesting the desktop view. I don't think on here... There we go. Okay. So this is just the initial home page. S3 finished. Desire S finished. You can see there is a noticeable lag, sort of stuttering really, on the Desire S. Whereas here, you can pretty much do whatever you want. But the Desire S is still pretty good going. Let's try another site. We're now going to go to youtube.com. Finished. And finished. Not quite so smooth with the old zooming there. But still not terrible. But again, you can just see here It's just so smooth. Okay, one more site just for fun. We're just going to go to engadget.com. Okay, done. And the Desire S, still loading. And it's finished, so here we go. Not too bad once it's actually finished, but it still is obviously noticeably jerky in comparison. So that's the browser test, and again, the S3 triumphs. The next test we're going to do is the camera. Not many people do, or many people do actually forget about the camera sometimes, but the camera on this is just amazing in comparison to the Desire S. I have to say, it's just so quick and responsive. You can just, you can literally just sit there, tap away. The shutter lag is pretty much zero, and focusing's really, works really well. The sensor on it is just really good, and you can just see when you're moving the phone around that it's just a very good camera. So one test I'm going to do is just take a photo of my beautiful, or rather quite ugly, BT remote here, and just compare the photos on the video once I've edited it. So I'm just going to take a photo of this, and we'll do a bit of a side-by-side comparison. Okay, so that's the the Galaxy S3, and we'll load up the camera on here. Okay. Try and get it to focus on something. Just having a bit of trouble down there. Okay, but I can tell you for certain that the camera on the S3 it's just, it's brilliant. It's got so many different features, effects, built-in editing, the list just goes on. It's really, really good. So, for example, if I just take a photo of here, take that, go into the gallery, you just see how quick it is to do things. We can now edit that photo. If I press the button. Okay, so now we can change the colour, crop it, edit some effects, so we can get some funky things going on. I know you can obviously do this on Desire S, but it's just so ridiculously quick to do it on here in comparison. So let's just do that. Say, click done, edits it, saves it, save it. Okay, and there we go. It's saved. So yeah, it's just so quick to load, quick to shoot. So we could do another little quick test. So from camera to initial photo. It's just a lot quicker. You can see, in fact, the difference in the sensor. It looks a lot fresher on here, on the Galaxy, and yeah, it's just better. So I'm sorry, Desire S, but your camera is not that good. So it's another tick for the Galaxy S3. Okay, so now let's just have a quick look at the screens. The screens, obviously, the size comparison for a start, it's just it's a lot bigger, a lot wider, being 4.8 versus 3.7 I think on the little Desire here, but the colours are just so much crisper on the S3 in comparison. The Desire S just looks a bit dull. I mean, I can turn the brightness up a bit, which will help, but you can just see that, well, you probably can't see, but the detail is just so much better on the Galaxy S3, and that is why straight away this will win the screen competition or the screen test, because it is just better to read in, better to view things in. I can't actually imagine. This just feels like a Wildfire S sized phone. I know it's tiny in comparison, I know, but yeah, the larger screen, I don't think you can't go back once you've had the bigger size. So screen goes to S3. So sound next up. Now, I'm not a sound expert, I'm not a sound engineer or anything like that, but let's just close that up. I'm going to just test, well, I'm not going to test it, but I will test it. Obviously the speakers on these phones, they're not brilliant, they're not Bang & Olufsen style things, but we can test the quality of them. Okay, so if I just load up an example here. Okay, so we've had enough of that. I haven't got the same song on here, but I will play a song for you. There's a lot less bass. Not so much treble, you can't really hear all the backing instruments. The voice is very clear, I must admit. So I'm going to award that one. It's hard to say really. I might give it a draw, because really it's hard to distinguish between the two. Certainly when you've got your earphones on, unless you're some kind of genius, you can't really hear the difference, because it's just, same pair of headphones. Okay, the equalizers might be different or something, but yeah, I feel a bit sorry for the Desire, so I'll give it half a point for that. Okay, next up is the design. Now, big phone, small phone, you can't really, it's not fair to compare because they're different screen sizes, but the design itself, although this feels lighter, it doesn't feel cheap to me personally. This feels heavier, obviously, with the aluminium single piece shell here. It's going to be a bit heavy, but it feels good still. It does feel small now that I've been using this, but the design is good because everything is in place where you need it. You've got your power there, your lock screen, you've got your volume there, so you never have to worry too much about anything. Obviously you've got your touch sensitive buttons at the bottom. Again, each can be reached without moving or having to use two hands for anything, so that's good. Now this Galaxy S3, obviously bigger, slightly harder to get to the slightly smaller volume rocker here, so one-handed you can do it, it's just slightly more awkward, obviously due to its size. If you're left-handed it would be slightly easier, but again it's just feels a bit slightly awkward. Now it's good that they haven't put the unlock button at the top, because to unlock it, unless you've got really long fingers, you'd actually have to slide the phone down and then go like that. So the fact it's at the side is advantageous to itself because it saves you having to try and squeeze up to the top and get it. So obviously at the bottom here we've just got the home button and we've got the menu key and the back key. Now there's no search button, which I do kind of miss a bit. I've always liked being able to just press that and search an app, but obviously all the apps do have the software search button in the app instead. So for the design purpose it does look better with just the two either side, or sorry, the one back and menu key either side of the home button. Now I'm glad the menu key's there. I'm not one of these people who goes crazy about the fact that Samsung have kept it in when Ice Cream Sandwich are getting rid of the menu button, but I prefer it to having a weird software menu button. So design wise it's hard to call really. I think for its size Desire S designed very well, and again for its size the Galaxy S3 designed well. Now it's obviously very well made, it's a lovely case, and I suppose you look at the Desire S and it, as well as it is made, it does look a bit chunky, and it doesn't really stand out in comparison to other phones on the market. So I'm sorry Galaxy Desire, but design is going to the Galaxy S3. Okay, my final test for today is a benchmark. Now obviously this is going to win by miles, but I'm going to do it anyway. But you'll also get to see the sort of speed of how the S3 works in comparison. So just for example, installing an app from the market. So let's load up the Google Market or Google Play Store. We'll search for benchmark. Okay. Right, so we're going to do the bog standard quadrant because that's the one that everyone does. Okay, install, accept. We're ready to go here. Still installing on Desire. Okay, now we're ready to go. So we're going to open up. Wait for it to load on the Desire S. I will just zoom in a bit so you can see. Okay. So we're going to run a full benchmark and see what the results are. Okay, so we've finished here, and the Desire S is still going in the background, so while that's going I'll just show you the result. If I can get it to focus. Okay, so we've got 5551, which beats the HTC One X, the Transformer Prime, and basically every other phone on the market. So we shall wait for the Desire S to finish, as that would be polite, and then we can compare the scores. Okay, so we've finished now. So in comparison between the two, the score on the Desire S was 1,597 compared to 5,551. So basically, this is almost 4.5 to 5 times better in the benchmark, and obviously Desire S here at the bottom, whereas mine Galaxy S3 is at the top. So there we have it. That's the benchmark. Again, not really worth comparing the two because we know without a shadow of a doubt which one's going to win, and that is the Galaxy S3. So with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5 and just 0.5 here for the Desire S. So I think the conclusion, in case you didn't guess, is that the Galaxy S3 definitely a great phone, definitely worth upgrading to, as long as you can, fit it in your hand. It is big, but it's the screen that's the main huge part of it. The outside of the phone isn't too big, so it's actually not as big as you first think it is when you first get it. So yeah, that was the quick roundup and test of the two phones, and I can now put my poor little Desire S back to sleep in its box and stick it on eBay for someone else to enjoy. So hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions, comments or feedback, let me know down below, and until the next video, go out and enjoy yourselves.